Sure. Well, luckily today there's a lot more people in recovery because of there's a lot more services available for people to get sober. One of the litmus tests to see if you are an alcoholic is if you think you are, you definitely are, and you probably have been for a while. Because people who aren't alcoholic, it never crosses their mind. I know with my wife, after about 3 drinks, she would say, "Oh, I need to stop, I'm losing control." I would look at her like, I'm gaining control. Like, I can't understand that, right? So this enhanced performance and is the start of the journey for alcoholics, at least, is that we get better at dancing, we get a few inches taller, we're obviously richer, we play better table tennis and pool, and this kind of idea, or we can drink more than other people, especially in our teens and in our 20s. But the trouble with alcoholism especially is it's progressive. So it gets worse, never better. And after any period of non-drinking, as soon as we pick up the first drink again, it's back within about 6 weeks, sometimes faster. It's back as worse as it ever was. And if someone else is asking you about your drinking or drugging or making comment, that's a big red flag that other people are worried about you, especially people who love you. And if it's early enough to act before the disease has really totally riddled the brain, and the riddled brain with alcoholism is called Korsakoff's syndrome, which is wet brain. And in the early days, it's just that the lie detector doesn't move, or the 15% of people that can tell a lie and not even, no, because we're lying to ourselves. So that's how the people all around us as well, it's a great litmus test, yeah. If somebody else is complaining about your drinking and there's comments made by your spouse or your partner or anybody at work that, you need to probably have a look at this, then it's been a problem for a long time already and you need help. And it's not got the stigma anymore that it used to have. I mean, you just look at Hollywood, it's riddled with the stars and the people that are, that have found out early that they have this disease, and they treat it early, and look at them go from strength to strength. I mean, where would the world be without the alcoholics and addicts? Where would all the music and the plays and the artistic flair that comes from the addicts and alcoholics? It'd be a pretty boring world without them. But the trouble is, we're short-lived. It's a chronic, progressive, and fatal disease that is not happy till we're jails, institutions, and death. So if people are worried about what people are thinking of them and how shameful, it's better than having your children go to your grave and urinate on it. I mean, it's a very serious, progressive, and fatal illness, and most people don't know how to deal with it because it affects that part of our brain that's full of shame and guilt and not being enough of, and being, trying to prove to the world and to ourselves that we are okay, and we come up short every time. So that leads us back to more and more alcohol, more and more drugs, more and more, promiscuous behavior or food. It's a very unhealthy lifestyle to be an alcoholic and an addict, and the people around us who love us, they suffer as well. None more than the alcoholic, though. The alcoholic suffers more than anybody. And for people who can stop, and they've just found out scientifically that there's no level of alcohol that's any good for you. So if it's all about the social side of things, I used to think that too. I thought, what would become of me if I stopped drinking? I'd be the most boring person on the planet. I would lose all my friends. I wouldn't be able to do anything. The opposite has been true. It's changed my life. They say 3 things you have to do when you want to get sober, in any particular order: change, change, change. And a lot of that it's an inside job. The 12 steps come from the inside out. It's a spiritual journey. Anybody that tells you any different hasn't done the 12 steps. Anybody with long-term sobriety who is able to, happy in their own skin and is a really kind, patient, tolerant and peaceful man has done the 12 steps. Because it's an introduction to a higher power, the higher energy, God, if you will. I know when I came in, I didn't like the word God, so I looked for all the acronyms. The Buddhists would put another O in the word God to make it good. And you can read the book just with the word good, which made it very accessible to everyone in Thailand here. I like GOD as the great outdoors, or gift of desperation. I got so desperate that I needed to find this God, if you will, a higher power, a higher energy that I could ask in the morning. I'd get on my knees. I was told by my sponsor, get on my knees every morning when I get out of bed and take my body where my ego won't go. Break it down and ask the higher power to keep me away from the first one, because the bomb is in the first one. I just ask for that. Don't ask for too much. Not yet. Just ask that keep me protected from the first drink, because the bomb is in the first one. With alcoholics and addicts, the minute I take the first drink, Elvis leaves the building and I light the fuse, and within 6 weeks, I'm down in Patong getting robbed by the ladyboys. They hunt in packs. So, blacked out somewhere, ridiculous stuff, right? Horrible, shameful, guilt-ridden stuff, like, behavior, getting angry with people, finding out the next day that I'd shouted at somebody or gotten violent with somebody on the street or something like that. This is the depths we go to. So I really love the idea of gift of desperation as part of the God acronym. Good orderly direction. Group of drunks, group of druggies. GOD, GOD, GOD. And, the one that I love is great outdoors. Look at how beautiful it is right now. The steps bring us back to the present. The steps bring us back to now. If we've got one foot in the past with the regret of the past and the shamefulness that's what the steps do, is clean that up. And then, or the anxiety of the future. So I've got depression and anxiety. They've located this gene, CHRM2, that travels with depression and anxiety, and there's an inordinate amount of alcoholics and addicts that have this gene. Of course it travels with depression and anxiety. As soon as I have a drink, my depression disappears and my anxiety disappears. So it's depression, of the past and anxiety of the future. So one foot in each camp, I'm urinating on the present. I'm not present in the now. And the steps bring me back to that. So I've got so much to be thankful for and grateful for. Actually, the 12 steps introduced me to God again. I think down deep inside, and it says this in the big book, that down deep inside every man, woman and child is this idea of a God. And, we're taken to a rock bottom. In alcoholics, I think we have a leg up than the 85% of the population that don't have our disease. The ones of us that don't die, most people's rock bottom is their death with this disease, unfortunately. It's the last breath that we take. It's like, oh wow, I really should maybe do something about my alcohol or my drug intake, and then, whoops, I'm out of here. But for those of us that have hit a rock bottom that didn't kill us, and they say, what's a rock bottom? A rock bottom is the last thing that you lost, or the next thing you're going to lose is more important than the substance. So I know for me, I had a wife and 3 kids at the time, and she was going to leave me and take the kids. I was like, well, that's no good. I, so much invested in my ego, in my family. And so I thought, well, can't do that. We made our wedding vows and, in sickness or in health. And so she said, well, you have to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. So I begrudgingly went. And they told me some incredible stuff at that first meeting. They said that it's binary. You either are or you're not. There's no middle ground with this stuff. And if you are, there's no solution for you except a spiritual path, and that it gets progressive. It never gets any better. If you've found out that people want to leave you because of it, then it's already way past anything worldly being a solution. There's only something outside of ourselves, some energy that we can tap into. I still don't understand the full ramifications of it, but if I can try to connect with that energy every day, I don't feel like I need anything else to fulfill me. But if I don't connect to that energy as much as often as I can through prayer and meditation, step 11, then I will be, suffering from my disease. It's not alcoholism, it's alcoholism, and it comes back. It's cunning, baffling, powerful, and I would add patient, resilient, insidious, nasty, sneaks back under the door like smoke, or just when we think we're okay, and it lives in resentments. It's the number one offender is resentments. So that's where the steps work, and we do step 4, where we write down, we do a fearless and thorough moral inventory of ourselves. And how we get to that inventory is we write down the names of all of the people that we have a resentment for. And I thought, I don't have any of those. And then, of course, when resentment was explained to me that every time I think of that person, place, or thing, that I have a bit of an icky feeling about it, that's what a resentment is, resending the bad emotion to me. It's resending it to me. It's a resentment. So I have to write down the columns of the people, what happened exactly, what part did I have in it, what had it affected me, because the one hand can't clap. It needs another hand to clap against. I have some part in everything that I have some issues about. If I didn't, it wouldn't exist. So finding my part in that, and then telling somebody else in step 5, step 6 and 7, asking God to remove those character defects, so I can be of use to, other alcoholics, and to be of service to other people. And then, step 8 and 9 is 8, writing down all of the wrongs I've done others, and then step 9, going and making amends to those people. Sometimes they're living amends, just being a better person. And then, step 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. That's difficult to do. You can be halfway through a sentence and I realize, gosh, I'm telling a lie even when the truth will do, and I have to do a U-turn halfway through the sentence. That's step 10. Or apologize. The best I can do, you can ask my family, is the best I can do for an apology is I say mistakes have been made. Some of them could have been by me, But that's step 9, is where we make amends, financial as well. And then, step 10 is we continue to take personal inventory. And step 11 is sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Oh, talk about a powerful step. Very, very powerful step. And right before we're allowed to help others, we have to do a daily prayer and meditation practice. We have to sit with ourselves and our higher power and try through any way we can to create a conscious contact with something that is ethereal, it's like a non-being, if you will. Like, how do I connect with everything? And then, how deep is that? How far can you go? That's wide and deep, and there's no end to that. The seeking of that. But then the seeking of it allows me to be okay in my own skin, I think with alcoholics and addicts, we're not okay in our own skin. We feel uncomfortable. It's like we got dropped off on the wrong planet, and everyone else has got the manual, but we didn't get the manual. And so we're scratchy, we're itchy, we're not fulfilled, we're, you know, things will be better if I get more money, things will be better if I get another girlfriend, things will be better if I get a better job, things will be better if I make my body this way, things will be better if this happens, things will be better, and it won't be. It won't be. And I think we're very blessed as alcoholics and addicts because we're forced to find a spiritual path. And through being forced to find a spiritual path or die, that kind of pressure's that's on, you know, when I've been in the fellowships for 26 years and I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of people die from this disease. And so it's a serious disease, you know, and you look at the amount of fentanyl abuse in the United States now, that they think there's been more people killed by fentanyl than there has in all of the world wars. That's a lot of people. So that's the 15% that have this hole in the soul that can only be filled with these substances or behaviors, process addictions. But thank God for other people who paved the way, who cut the way out of the jungle for people like me. They said, you do these 12 steps. You get to prayer and meditation, where you want to do it, where you actively seek out being a better person, trying to help other people, and you get out of yourself. That's what the 12th step is all about. These guys that I met in Alcoholics Anonymous who were trying to help me, they were doing it for themselves. It was self-seeking, really, because they had got an upgraded perception for that day, for that moment, that they got out of their own magical magnifying mind long enough to help somebody else. And that freed them up from their obsessive, you know, magical magnifying minds that the alcoholic addict has. We're constantly searching, you know, in a bottle. And I don't think it's called spirits for nothing. I think, you know, I remember one time I was down on Surin Beach and it was like 5 in the morning and I was coming back from Patong. I was well drunk. I thought it's beautiful, full moon, you know, and full moon was setting on the west coast and the sun was about to come up. It was beautiful light, much like now. I thought I'll go for a skinny dip. So I've gone into the water and I'm there at one with the universe, you know, full of drugs and alcohol. I'm looking up there. Wow, it's beautiful. It's incredible. I'm so happy to be, you know, part of this universe and everything else. And I thought, okay, go back to the beach. And some ladyboys had stolen my clothes. And I had nothing to wear. So it's a beautiful spiritual experience. And then the reality of, where's my clothes? So luckily I lived close to the beach back then. It was in the 80s. And I had to tuck my hand over my privates and run down the street to get home. So it was a great reminder that no matter how high we think we are closer to this thing, the reality of being a human and being in this world can come back at any time. And I think I was always, with my drug and alcohol use, I was always trying to reach God. You know, and for every now and then, you know, the bandwidth at the start was this big, where that euphoria and that I can get through meditation and prayer today, but the bandwidth was wide back then. And as the more I drank and the more I got older, the bandwidth got less and less and less, and I'd go shooting through it and be like, whoa, and be in a blackout. You know, still walking, talking, but having no recollection of anything that happened. And I find that through, you know, prayer and meditation that I can get that feeling again. Comes and goes, but it's well worth it.